Hello, hello. How's it going, everybody? Matt here from Matt Cards. I'm just doing a sort of a audio check at the start. See if it's working. And live. Yeah. Okay. So the audio is working. I will turn that check off. Okay. So today we are putting some metal inserts into wood. And it's quite easy actually, and it's quite a fun thing to do and can make your carvings look really, really cool. So I will show you here. This is one that I did a long time ago. And so you can see right, sort of, it's quite hard to focus on these things. I haven't got my glasses on either, so I can't see myself. So you can see in here, these are little brass rods. And there, and on the back of the horses. So we will be looking at how do we do those today. And I also did, yeah, you all know anyway, I do jewelry for a living. And this is a pendant that I made, and I put a bronze rod up the top. So it's really hard to focus on these things. Okay, so yeah, I put a bronze rod up the top there, and this wood here is ebony. And what did I put that in with? I put that in with that little terrier bit that I had. So for people who are joining me now, yeah, we're going to be putting in bronze rods, metal rods, any kind of metal that you can find, you can put into a bit of wood, as long as it's round. So we're going to be doing those little bits there. So, thanks, thanks, Leacher Bottle. G'day, Mike. How you going? People are starting to join. So yeah, you probably heard me explain. We're putting in these metal rods, and what we need is some metal. So here we go. We've got what have we got? We've got so this is a bronze welding rod, and this is a bit of garden wire. Now the problem with garden wire, it's probably going to rust if you put it outside. Here's a nail. I've never attempted to put a nail in wood before, but we need to chop it down first. And these are little brass pins. And if you wanted to find some of those to put in, that's what I used on this one here. These little brass pins here, little shiny bits there. I would go to sort of like a craft store that sort of sells little jewelry kind of bits and pieces, and just look for little pins like this. And they're usually made out of brass. You can probably buy silver ones as well. They're really, really cheap. Like I think I bought a packet of 100 of these for about $1. So, you know, and I use them for all kind of bits and pieces. I'm not sure what this is. I think it might be another welding rod and another brass thing. So we'll sort of slowly get going here. You might have seen in the week, you can ask me questions about this little guy as well if you want. So I did a tutorial on how to carve this sort of skull, and I wanted to sort of make it a lot easier to carve in this skull. So I sort of chopped off the back, and sort of just wanted to give you that kind of formula when you sort of like do the eyes and the nose and the mouth. So, and we chopped off the bottom jaw to make it really easy. So if you haven't seen that tutorial, go and check that out. And if you've got any questions about carving skulls, just drop them in the chat and that will be cool. Okay, so what you need to do this is you need just a couple of things actually. So you probably, when you got your Dremel, maybe you got a big pack. When you bought your drill, you get sort of like a big combination pack, and you get these discs here, and you get this funny thing. I'm not sure what it's called, an easy lock or something like that. And it's quite, when you first look at it, you're kind of like, how does that even work? But okay, so it's actually easy to put on. That is on the Dremel. So pretty much this easy lock is for certain accessories, and we're going to be using this metal cutting disc today. I don't think I've ever bought any of these metal cutting discs. I just get them. I don't know, they just seem to last for quite a long time. Oh yeah, so I should show you how to do this, if I can work it out myself. Okay, so you pull that back there like that, and you put the disc on like that, and you turn it around until it goes, sort of goes into the, yeah, you sort of like turn it around like that, and it'll lock in place on that bottom one, and then you release that, and so then that locks it into place. So that is a metal cutting disc, and they sort of come in different thicknesses. We're going to be using a semi-thick one today. That's a real thin one. I don't know if you can sort of tell, but that's a thick one on the left and a thin one on the right. G'day, old plantation. How you going? Greetings to you too. Okay, so I'll just catch everyone with what we're doing today. So we are putting in little metal bits into wood, like that and like that. So the first thing you need to do is, well, you need some metal first. So I just went through this, but this is a nail, a welding rod. So if you know anyone who welds, they usually have like ends of welding rods, because what happens is they're welding and then it gets too hot to, these rods are usually really long. And so the ones they've got left over, it's sort of like they're holding it in their hand, and then it'll get too hot to hold, and then they'll just discard this last bit. Well, that's what the guy said to me, who's a welder. I have never welded myself, but yeah, so these are bronze welding rods, and you can get all different kinds of metals. So I use the bronze ones. So, okay, so these are some other attachments that go on to that thing there. Okay, so when you're cutting metal, you want to be quite careful. You want to definitely wear, oh, g'day Chris, how you going? Oh, what time is it there? Chris was on doing a live last night. He was on for like 5 hours. Right. Okay, so what are we going to put? First, I should sort of like do this in order. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put these bits of metal maybe into this wood and this wood as well. So I'll show you the difference here. So these bits of metal are only going a little bit of the way into the wood, whereas this one is a little bit more difficult because it goes all the way through. So I would recommend, if you were putting metal into wood, just go a little bit into the wood, because when you put it all the way through, it's sort of a little bit more difficult. And you'll see why when I get halfway through. I'll do both methods in this today, actually. Okay, I'll just raise this up a bit. Not away so much. Okay, so when it comes to cutting metal, you want to wear some kind of glove on your left hand. And what we're going to do is we'll just make it a little. Well, I'll just show you how to cut it first. Let's get into it. Too much talking. Okay. Do you have to flare the ends on the metal when you go all the way through? I don't, but I'm gluing the metal in. So when you flare the ends, it's more of a metal working technique when you're using a little hammer. Which got one of those little hammers. I know what you mean, and because I tend to go for a real nice clean line. So that's not flared at all. That's exactly kind of flush. So there's no flaring at either end. If you get what I mean. So I have flared the metal before. It's quite. You need a soft metal, I think, because bronze is quite soft. So when you're tapping it with the ball hammer, which I've got somewhere, it needs to sort of flatten out. I think knife. Chris, you made a knife, didn't you? Did you tap the ends on yours? I think you can in that. Okay, so I've always found a problem when you're cutting metal is the metal goes flying. So what I tend to do sometimes is I will just put a bit of tape on it and a pencil mark where I want to cut it. So if I want to cut it there, so maybe I'll just put like this here and that there. I'll line that up and I'll put a bit of tape on it. Definitely hold it though as well. What is CA glue? I know, it's all cool. Everyone's learning. I'll get onto it, but like I use this glue here. It is an epoxy 2-pack glue. And so you sort of like, there's 2 syringes here and you push it out and then you mix it together. And it's very clear and it's very, very strong as well. And it dries in about 5 minutes. So, okay, so we're cutting the metal here. Might slow it down a little bit. I tend to wear a glove doing this because the metal really heats up really fast. So, okay, so that's that. That's done. So that metal will be quite hot. So just leave that to one side. Oh yeah, that's cool. Yep. It's not really super glue actually. Super glue, if I remember rightly, is just one puddle. See, this has got like an A and a B mix. So when you put it out, there's two nozzles there. So then you mix it together. So it's like an epoxy resin almost. So we've got that. Metal tends to cool down quite quickly. So we've got that one there. And we'll do the nail next. So the nail's quite long. Okay. How am I going to do this? Do it that way. Yeah, there's nothing worse than a little bit of like, put this tape on, because there's nothing worse than like hot metal sort of like falling onto your pants or something like that, going down your shirt. Okay. Oh. I think that has come loose a little bit. Okay, so just tighten that up. Oh, I'm glad you're asking questions, Leechy Bottle. It's sort of, you know, that's what it's all about, these lives. Okay. Made a bit of a dog breakfast out of that one. Okay, so one's quite short. Anyway, so we've got those two there. These are quite good because you just use the, you know, when something is quite soft metal, we just use the tin snips, a bit of garden wire. Okay, I wasn't quite sure what this one was. We'll cut this. Just take care of this. Yeah, so Chris's comment, the 49 Reap 49er, I did not need to flare anything. I cut them a little long, drill a hole to a proper size to fit dry, to make sure it is snug, and then when you are ready for assembly, 5-minute epoxy, and press it in. I'm taking it, press it all together. So he's talking about, he's making a knife handle here. And sand the pins flush with sandpaper or something. Right, okay. So I do like a similar method. So we'll do this last one, then we'll get on to the holes. Right, okay. There. Right. Okay. So, okay. Ooh, hot. Okay. Move all those ones out the way. Okay, so when you're deciding on the thickness, there's two ways of doing it. So you can either measure them, or try and get a little bit closer there maybe. You can either measure each wire, piece of metal, or you can just sort of like guess and then a scrap bit of wood. Just try it out and see if it fits snugly. Okay, so these are really good for measuring things. So here we go. So this is like a digital calipers. And you always got to like push them all the way in and zero it. And then you pull out this thing and you can see this is in millimeters. Okay, and then you can sort of close it on that. So that is 1.98 millimeters. So you'd want about a 2 millimeter drill bit. I think this is a bit bigger. This is 2.3, so maybe like a 2.5 drill bit. And this is a 0.8, so maybe a 1 mil. And yeah, well, you get the picture anyway. So just show you how to do, I think, well, I'll just show you how to do this bronze one because, and maybe one of this, maybe the nail as well. Okay, so I've got this box of drill bits here. I think this one is pretty good. So that's 2.3. I think that one just about fitted the bronze. Should really order these up, sort them out, but you know, 2.3 as well. You can actually buy proper sort of like Dremel drill bits, and that's what these are here. And the good thing about these is like the shaft is like will fit into your Dremel because you can only go up to 3.2 millimeters. There's problems with my words today. So those are quite handy to have, and that's probably, what is that? Sometimes I find it easier to go on that end. So it's 0.7. Yeah, it's just a little bit too skinny for that thin one. Sorry, I should have sorted this out before. So we tried that one. So we're looking for a 2 millimeter one. That might be up there. That's 1.5. I know. Hang on a second. Okay. Not quite sure why I didn't look at that before. Okay, so here's a 2 millimeter one. So I know probably you will work in inches, sorry, with millimeters here, but actually quite cool is on these calipers, what you can do is, so say we've got 2.3 there, you can just change the setting. So that's inches, and then fractions, which is pretty good. So it's well worth getting one of these. They're not too expensive, but they're quite handy. Okay, so we will just drill into the wood now. So if I was going to go, let's do it all the way through on the brass one, eh? So that's not too far through. I think that was the right one. These are just bits of scrap wood. So you want to, unless you've got a drill press, which I have, but you know, I'm just going to try and get this as straight as possible. So drill that through. Okay, so pretty much. Okay, so that's a really snug fit in there. I'll give you a little tip here, is when you're putting these kind of things in, what you want to do is get a little bit of sandpaper, because when you're cutting, it tends to leave a little kind of burr around. So it's going to be a little bit bigger and a little bit sharp on the edges. So once you've sanded that off, it will go all the way through really easy like that. So as you can see there, I have not done that straight. So it's all good. And so what you can do is, you should have probably cut that off a little bit closer to that. I should have measured it a bit more. Should put the nail one in here as well. What I'll do is we'll put them in and then I'll quickly cut them off to lengths, and so it's a little bit easier. I think that, no, we didn't put that nail one. I think it was a 2mm. About here. Okay, when you're drilling holes freehand, try not to sort of like go like up and down too much, because what you'll tend to do is you'll go on different angles, so it won't be true to the diameter of that drill bit. Okay, so that's not going to go through. Need a slightly bigger one. Okay, so I haven't got a slightly bigger one because that nail one is not going through, so I'm going to go back on my word and I'm going to say, when you're drilling, definitely don't go sort of up and down, but if I want the hole a tiny little bit bigger, I'm going to go in and just sort of like move the drill around a little bit. See if this will work. Yeah. So it's gone in now. So I've got those two bits of metal. And what I actually want to do as well, I'm going to show you, I was wanting to put a bit of metal. I had a tiny brass one in these, and you can't see them. So I wanted to stick a big bronze one in there. So I drilled the brass one out. You can see that one there, just there. Yeah, hit the like button. That would be much appreciated. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to put a bronze rod in that one there, and I will just drill a proper hole with that one. Just make sure I got the right one. So this is, so we've gone all the way through on this one, and we're only going to go part of the way through on this little knight. Okay, so that's oak, so it's quite hard. So we're going to, that's got a fitting as well. Where's this one? Okay, so that's a little bit tight. I think I've got it quite right there. So I'll just go in again. Okay, I'll just grab this and I will put a mark on the metal with that so I know where to go. So there's a little indentation there. I wonder if I could actually cut this bronze as this. Yes, I can. Yeah, so that's how soft that is. So you can sort of see on this end, it's kind of quite, well, it's got a bit of a point on it. So I'll put that, and this end is flat. So I'll put that, the pointed end in this way like that. Okay. So that's pretty good. I can't get it out now. Put it in there, I can't get it out. Ah! Right, hang on a minute. Let's grab another. Pair of pliers. Okay. Right. Okay, so that's a good length, that one. And we've got these two here. Right. So I'll just move this up a little bit. So now we're going to put some glue in those. And what I was going to do is I was going to cut those down a little bit. Because what's the problem is with metal is when you go to sand these back, you kind of want them almost quite flush. Because what will happen is if you glue it in and then you start to bring this back, it's just going to heat up. and it'll slip all around. So I'm going to try something here. It's probably not recommended, but we'll see what happens. It's probably going to spin around. I'll try and cut it off in the wood. I kind of feel like it's going to spin around. Yeah, it's spin. Right, okay. So that's all right. Actually, I can just try and take that out, down with that one. Right, that's sorted out. Okay, what if I can get that nail as well, a bit shorter? Yep. So we've got them quite short there. You know, you probably just measure them to the thickness of the wood when you first cut them. That's what I should have done. But you know, hey, it's all good. Okay, so let's get a little bit tidied up here. Okay. So if you've got any questions, just put them in there. Put them in the comments and I will answer them. If anyone's got any questions, maybe about the skull carving that I did earlier in the week. Has anyone attempted to do a skull on their carvings? They're quite fun. This is actually, we don't get a lot of cedar in New Zealand. And so when I was carving this, I thought, man, I can see why people carve cedar. It's just so soft and quite predictable as well. I tend to carve harder wood. So this wood here is mahogany. This is oak. And this wood that it's just sitting on, that is rosewood. It's quite a pale rosewood, that one. So when I am mixing up glue, I tend to, I've got this, we call it masking tape over here, but it's just sort of like paper, painter's tape, I guess you'd call it. I just put a bit on the bench. Then I grab a kebab stick, buy heaps of those at the supermarket for $1 or something like that, $1. What you need is something real thin, another thin bit of wire that will go into all of those holes. And the good thing about this glue, I've only got tape on the end because I keep on losing the cap. Okay, so yeah, so I was just reading the comments. Yeah, yeah, I like the medieval stuff too, Chris. It's cool. Okay, so you know, one of these syringes can last a long time. You don't need a lot of glue for this. So if you can see there, I haven't got much there. Put it down a little bit further. Okay, so then you just sort of like mix it up. Make sure you mix it properly. You've probably got about, I don't know, about 5 minutes. Depends on the temperature, on all those kind of things. So, okay, we'll do this one first because it's the most important. So I tend to just grab the glue on this little doodacky here. Try and get it so you can see it. And I'll just put it in there like that. And then I will put a dollop on the end of the bit of metal we're using. And then just put it into the hole. And I usually, for something like this, I'll probably use pliers, try and get it all the way in there as far as I possibly can. Right, so a bit of it's sticking out. You could actually leave it like that if you wanted to, but we'll take it down flush. So that one's done. And there, and these two. So we'll just get those out of there to start with. Bang. Okay. Right. So put the glue in the hole. Oh, g'day Mark, how you going? And yeah, so putting that glue in the hole, and you can do it from the other side as well if you want. Maybe I'll put a bit on here. Try and get it on the end that is easiest to go in. I'm not sure if I just... So this is a nail. It's probably going to rust. Actually, you could just go like that. So I probably wouldn't recommend using nails, but like maybe a rusty thing is kind of cool as well. So put that into there. And that was the bronze one that we were doing. Okay, so those are all in there now. Right. Good thing about using masking tape or painter's tape or whatever is I just peel it off the table, and that is that done, and you can just throw that away. I'll just wipe that glue off. Okay, so for something like this, when I've just put this, if you just missed that, I just glued that bronze welding rod into there. And so the glue is still wet, but when I was making jewelry, I didn't really have time for the glue to dry, so I tended not to worry about it, and I would just sand it down. So on something like this, it's a little bit harder to sand because you don't want to alter. The metal is going to be harder than the wood, so you've got to sand just the metal. And so it takes a bit of a delicate hand, and because it's not a uniform kind of plane along there, if it was completely flat like this, what you can do is stick it on this sander and it'll just take off those. But on this, we will use a variety of things, but I find like these little drum sanders are pretty good. Just go down to a smaller one, maybe. So definitely wear your safety glasses when you do this. Just clean up here a little bit more. It's just getting a little bit messy. Okay. Oops. Sorry, keep on hitting the phone. I was just trying to find a standing. Okay, so we're going with quite a rough grip. That's probably about 60, and then we'll take it down. I've got quite a few of these. Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, I love medieval stuff as well. So I'm not sure if you've seen, but so these are the other two that I made. And so if you look up the Lewis chess pieces, that's what this is from. So yeah, so I'm going to make another one of those soon, I think. Quite hard to make out of oak. Chainmail would be pretty hard to make. Quite time consuming, I'd assume. Okay. Okay, so we'll just try and get that. So it's really hard to see, but it is just popping out there a little bit. So I'm just trying to not touch any wood. I'm just trying to get at the bronze rod. Okay, so that has put that really flat with the wood, as you can see there. It's kind of worked out quite well. And so you can see the wood's gone white again, because I just finished it off by just doing a little bit of a skim along the wood as well. So I'll just go and grab that finishing stain that I've got. So I'll finish this one first, and then we'll move on to those. I'll show you how to do those other two. Yeah, if you feature bottle, I think if you go onto my YouTube channel, I think I made those. I made them quite a few months ago, but yeah, they're in there. So you can see how I made those little figurines. Little chess pieces. We're using a black polish here. That's what I originally did this in, but because I've just gone over that little bit there, I'll just do that bit there. And away. Okay, so probably taking that white away a little bit, but you can see there, I think that looks pretty cool. So probably when I have time, is I'll probably maybe put one of those up here, one there, and one there. So that one down there. So about 5 in there. So it'll look pretty cool. I just think it really adds adds to some kind of carvings like that. So yeah, so that's how I put those in there, and I'll show you. So these ones are a little bit more difficult. Okay, so that's black paint on there, so that's going to come off. But what you can do is, because it's going all the way through, when you start putting pressure on this one, it's going to push it down. So I will tend to put it on something, and then I'll take these down, and then I'll flip it over and push it back. So that glue isn't dried yet. I find with this glue it's quite good, because what can sometimes happen is when you're sanding the metal will heat up and it will melt the glue, but it will reset after it cools down, so it doesn't really matter. Take these down. So this is what you can do, is if you've got a disc sander, you can do the same on the disc sander, and it's really good with that. That's what I do on my jewellery, but I know everyone on here probably doesn't have a disc sander. So we'll do it this way for the demo. So put paper on there. Making sure you don't hit the wood. So those are quite flat, so I'll go to the other side and I'll push it up. So those ones on that side are flush now. You can see that. Yeah, so those ones on that side, the glue isn't quite set, but they're flush. And so I'll just take these down now, make sure that I'm pressing this onto here so the metal doesn't get pushed through. Okay, so that is pretty flush on both sides, but there's a lot of glue there still left. So what I will tend to do is, I could leave it till it is dry and then get it off. It's a matter of like cleaning up those edges around it, trying to get rid of the glue. Be super careful you don't take the wood down around it too much. Yeah, so that's just paint on there. Okay, so that's looking pretty cool. Okay, so essentially, like, the glue is still wet. You could have waited till it dry and then do it. But I find even if it's dry and you start really going at the metal, it'll heat up and then melt again and it'll push through. So I just tend to do it when it's wet. But yeah, wait till it's dry and give that a go. And what I would try and do is not quite perfect there. So I'd probably get like a flat sander and I'd sand it back like that. Whereas this, you're always going to get sort of like a curve happening around it. So essentially that is how you do sort of metal inserts. And so go back to the original one. So that's how you get that one. So you can see how flush that one is. So it's just a matter of sort of like polishing it up at the end as well. And sorry, I've got the hum bug now. So this is, if you've ever worked with ebony, it's almost like stone. It really polishes up well. So yeah, so these are the finished products. So I think that looks really cool. Okay, so has anyone got any questions? I'll just look back on the chat to see if I've missed anything. And I don't think I have. Yeah, no, it all looks pretty cool. So, hey, thank you for watching, everybody. And yeah, what do you think I should carve next? I'm thinking of doing another table carving, or I'm thinking of doing the queen chest piece of this, or I've actually got, there's so many things I want to carve. I want to actually do another skull as well. Maybe do the eyes a little bit different and sort of make it a little bit more evil or a little bit more character or something like that. Okay, so I think I will call it a day there. And hey, thank you all for watching again and supporting the channel. If you could hit the like, that would be awesome. Or if you could leave a comment, that would be great as well. Or hit the subscribe button, even better. Okay, so take it easy, everybody, and have a good week. And I will see you shortly. Okay, bye-bye.